Welcome to Season 4 of Casting Confidential. This season arrives at a pivotal moment. Casting is now formally recognized by both the Academy Awards and the Critics' Choice Awards. Across the season, I'm joined by actors shaping today's film and television landscape, award-recognized casting directors, and industry leaders to break down how casting actually works, who gets in the room, how decisions are made, and what moves careers forward. No mythology, no guesswork, just honest conversations about the process. And if you want deeper access to this work, bonus episodes, extended conversations, and live discussions, you can join the Casting Confidential community on Patreon. This is Casting Confidential. Actors, you need to rehearse or record a self-tape, but you don't always have somebody around to read with. Well, I think I found a solution for you. It's called the Raffi app. Raffi is an app that scans your sides and lets you rehearse with realistic reader voices. There are over 60 of them, so you can run scenes on your own anytime. It also has an optional teleprompter built in, works in multiple languages, includes a web version, and even has its own script library called Playhouse, where you can practice scenes and showcase your work on social media. Whether you're rehearsing, memorizing, or recording a self-tape, Raffi gives you control over your process without having to wait for anyone else. Check it out at raffi.app. That's RAFY.app. And make sure you use the special code confidential15 to get 15% off. That's confidential15. I'll drop that code in the show notes. Hey, you Casting Confidential listeners. If Casting Confidential has helped you better understand the casting process, there's now a way to go deeper. On Patreon, we're sharing bonus episodes, extended conversations, and live Q&As built specifically for actors who want real clarity, not industry noise. You can join the Casting Confidential community at patreon.com/Casting Confidential. We'd love to see you there.
Let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting Confidential, the roundtable. This episode is about what happens after you hit submit. And today we're going to pull back the curtain on how casting directors actually talk about actors in the room, in emails, and up the chain. Really pulling back the curtain on that one. And with us today are Kimberly Skyrme, Cheryl Louden-Kubin, and Robin Carus, all my casting friend colleagues. Thanks for being with us, ladies. Let's get into it. So what do we talk about when they're not in the room? What do we talk about when anybody's not in the room?
How amazing they are, you know? I mean, like the good points, the bad points. But basically, I like to always be a little more positive and talk about how they'll fit into the puzzle, how they were wonderful, and what they did right.
I think that whether you're in person or whether you're submitting on tape, it's literally how you kind of like enter the space, right? Like it's because there's a certain finesse you need with that intro and that who am I, and so whether you're viewing a tape or an actor walks through the door, it's kind of the same thing. You know, there's an intro that they have to give you, and then they have to deliver a performance. And so, and it's, I think that it's always nicer when you're with a creative team that's talking in possibilities instead of in absolute no's. And so, and sometimes that happens. You have a creative team that's a little more difficult and can't seem to get on board with one another. And then for the teams that really are on board with each other, you know, we're really talking about who is the right person and the right fit and where possibility is and the things that they did that you loved, and you know how they created the world, you know, whether it's in a small box like these Zoom boxes and or, you know, in a studio space. And so, and it's actually quite fun to watch.
And sometimes I like to talk about what I've cast them in before, like their history with me, that is obviously very positive. But if you didn't show up on a set or something happened, I'm gonna say that too. And probably you wouldn't even get the audition, really.
Yeah,
But
really.
really,
It was,
but
it was
I mean, like the history, like, oh, I booked him on a this and he was amazing. And so, like, the fact that you have a history with this actor.
Let me tell you that some of the casting platforms actually show us the history of what
Oh,
we've done with this actor, and
I
it's
love that.
oh
And you see the tapes. Yeah, you
yeah,
can see every
yeah,
time they taped for
yeah. And
you.
so
And I
yeah,
love that.
I
Yes,
mean,
I love that
usually
too.
our little brains work like that anyway because we've been doing this for so long. But it's nice to have the tapes and oh yeah, 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 he would be good for that. And sometimes like when actors submit, like I'll look at their previous in order to decide if they should come in for a self tape, and it's
Hmm.
useful to me.
Very useful. I love that. And also to see their growth, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's
it
so
does.
fun, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
mean, like you and I have been at it a minute and but like do you have any like that started as kids and now they're like big stars and stuff?
Yes, yes. I mean, not big stars, but yes.
So many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And but it's so fun. It's like, oh my God, I remember them when they were 8 and now they're 30.
Yeah. And I'm no older.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm also 38.
Yeah, right.
I think that for those that audition in person, I think that they have to remember that really their audition starts the minute they enter the space. And I think that if you're working with an audition assistant or monitor and they are the person that's outside taking information, you have to remember and keep in mind that the way that you treat the people who are helping run the auditions, it's imperative that you are kind and respectful of their time, energy, and efforts because chances are they're either not paid or being paid a little amount of money to sit there and answer as many questions or get answers from everyone in the room. And you have to remember that courtesy is key. I one time had a young man who was stupid and had an epic audition fail and decided to almost bully the young woman who was serving as my audition monitor. And when she came in and said, "I just need you to know this," all of a sudden the audition took a different turn. And so
The trash can, that's that.
yes,
Yeah.
and he walked.
Today's, yeah, today's PAs are tomorrow's directors. Today's
Yeah.
casting assistants are tomorrow's casting directors.
Yeah.
Yes, and he walked in the room and I said, "I want to address something." And I said, "Normally I wouldn't want this to deter from your audition, but it makes me mad and I want to and I said, "So before you audition, I want to actually remove any anger from my system." And I said, "Were you indeed rude to my assistant?" And so he said, "Yes." I said, "Why?" I said, "She's 5 foot nothing, you're 6 foot 3." I said, she's doing my bidding and for little money." And he said, "I apologize." I said, "I actually want you to go outside and
To her.
apologize to her."
Yeah, of
And
course.
so he said, "Really?" And I said, "Really?" And I said, "You want a shot at the job?" I said, "Be kind."
You're nice to even say
Right,
it to him.
right.
I mean, generally speaking, there's so
I
many.
I
It's just,
think that I think that I took it as he was a young man and I wanted it to be like a learning experience and I
At
thought
least he told the truth too,
yes.
right?
yeah,
And I think that if behaviors can be corrected,
Yeah,
amazing. Because
yeah.
the truth is we'd like to, the good thing about our job is that we fall in love with people on a daily basis.
Mm.
And that's the joy. And so and when you say like what do we talk about? We talk about what we love, more so than what we don't like. If we don't like something, we really don't like something. So,
I once had a gal who came in for, I think it was an extra in a commercial, and she booked it and she didn't show up on the set. She told the production people that, and she was one of like two extras. I mean, it was a nice little extra gig. And she so it was like 50% didn't show up. So, and she told them, oh, she had a flood in her apartment and blah, 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 blah. She lied. And then I see her, and this was for a little extra thing. And then the next time I see her was for a huge budget something. And she showed up and I recognized her. And I didn't let it impact her audition. I let her audition. And then after that, I said, hey, I just have to say, I booked you on this job and you didn't show up and you told them this and that. And she was just like, oh, so you just never know. That little job, that today
Right.
might be like a huge thing that if you are not honest and you take a job and do not follow through with it. I mean, just do what you say you're going to do, basically.
Well, and that does become the problem in the room. So we're talking about what do we say,
Right.
when we're in the room and you're not there, that not that you would share that exact full story with the director, but you're going to be insanely effusive about all of the other options. And when you don't have effusive things to say about this person, that's a cue to any smart, knowledgeable director and producer. If we're not effusive, it probably means that you did a fine job in the audition, and I'm happy to share the possibility of this. But when push comes to shove and they ask our opinion, we're going to be effusive and not as effusive. And
Right.
that's enough said.
And I certainly would say
There's
to
some
her,
problems.
yeah, I would certainly say to her, hey, okay, you're getting a second life here. What, don't screw me over again, because I mean, talk about in the room, getting the call at 6 a.m. Where is she? Where is she?
Oh,
I have
this is
no
the worst
idea.
thing that we
Won't
have.
answer the phone. Is not communicative. Nothing. I mean,
And
just
details are
crickets.
so particular that, it's not an easy fix for us when someone does that because there's such an approval process of layers and layers of people. So
Right.
you accept, you really need to try to make it there by hook or by crook.
Yeah. I think
I
they
do
ended up
want to take
upgrading somebody on the set, like a crew member.
I'm going to pause this right here. If you're loving this conversation, the rest of this episode is available exclusively on Patreon. We go deeper into the real audition stories, the hard lessons, and the unfiltered behind the scenes conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Join us at patreon.com/casting confidential to hear the full episode and get access to bonus content, extended interviews, and our private community. If you're serious about understanding how casting really works, I'll see you inside Patreon.
Greatest podcast in television and film with Rosen, CSA, and all the friends. Bringing you Casting Confidential. Casting, that's essential. Casting, so eventful. Time to tune in to close friends, chilling with Rose. We call it Casting Confidential. Get a notepad ready, grab a pen and pencil. For magic to jot down, tell a friend too. A wonderful podcast in TV and film, we call it Casting Confidential. Let's go.